Good afternoon, friend. Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live with Debra Tavares, and it is insane, this particular broadcast here. Fungal Pandemic Alert, the title of the broadcast here. And Debra, thank you for coming on again. We have University of Chicago, Debra. Just the title of this article here: Could a fungal pandemic be the last of us? That's the title of their article on the University of Chicago website.
Absolutely. And in fact, on the CDC website, it says in volume 30, number 3, March of 2024, it says, the last of us and the question of a fungal pandemic in real life. Now, they're referring to the advanced pre-described circumstance of our reality because everything is pre-scripted. And in the abstract on the CDC website, it says, the television series The Last of Us imagines a post-apocalyptic world ravaged by fungal pandemic caused by a certain fungus species. And they go on to talk about The Last of Us and the fungus. So we want to get into this. Certainly all of you might want to be watching this series on HBO because they're literally talking about creating zombies out of all of us due to fungus. Now, I want to say this about the CDC so everyone remembers this. This is critical because it's important to always remember that the CDC is a private, for-profit corporation doing business. And the CDC is not a government health advocacy organization. The CDC is a corporation listed on Dun and Bradstreet and headquartered in the state of Georgia with strong ties to the pharmaceutical industry. Therefore, their recommendations are influenced by the fiscal health of their corporation. Now, as we discuss this fungal emergence that is already happening worldwide, it's important to remember a number of programs and projects that we've discussed in the past. And I'm going to talk about what occurred in the early 1950s over San Francisco. And it was airborne spraying by the Navy, and it was called Operation Sea Spray, SEA spray. And if you can pull that up, Steve, so everyone can see that operation in the early 50s.
Yeah.
At the time in San Francisco, there were about 800,000 people. And they sprayed a urinary tract infection fungal disease. And it had no cure. And unless it is caught immediately, it goes into a irreversible mental breakdown for people. And when I do another show on this with you, Steve, I'm going to go over a document that I have. I'll have to locate that. But this is the first disclosure about the ongoing fungal pandemic that is now full blown. So we're going to talk about this because what we're facing is what many people are hearing: mold and fungus remediation in their homes. And literally, this mold and fungus is in our homes, it's in our crawl spaces, it's in our air ducts, it's between walls, it's coming up through floors. People are going to have an inspector, not that's affiliated with the remediation, but an inspector to go through your homes because this is emerging everywhere. Now, here's an example of what we're facing here in Northern California. Again, I'm located north of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'm in Sonoma County. And it's been many months now that folks here are not able to renew their fire and liability coverage, their insurance coverage. But what has been happening is the insurance inspectors are going out to the houses And they're really not looking for the distance of plants in all cases, many they are, or abutment of fire material near the homes where they want people to eliminate that. But I'm noticing too that they're going to the north exposure of roofs with their cell phones and taking photographs of the north side of the roof where people have fungus. And I have some pictures of this fungus, Steve. I will send it to you for our next broadcast. It is unbelievable. We were watching people replace their roofs, which is now required if fungus is found, because Pacific Gas and Electric, aka Rothschild, is flying over with drones. And they're noticing the fungus because that's what they're looking for. They're looking to make sure that it's adequately dispersed in aerosol. And so, again, they're requiring roof replacement before they will renew fire and liability coverage in many instances. And the roofers here in Northern California are so backed up, and getting the roof material is also a bit of a problem because of supply lines, that what the insurance companies at this moment are accepting is evidenced deposit on a signed roof replacement agreement with a roofer, and then they will extend the coverage. Now, I will say we have seen firsthand on the sides of exterior home walls, building walls, it doesn't matter, all siding, we have seen splattering of little brown dots. And I would liken it to the size if you took a felt marker with a fine point tip and you just made dots all over. And they're brown though, and they don't wash off. They can't get this off. This is fungus. Now, we're having many people that are getting extremely sick. And I was talking to some that had to move out of their homes, some instances nearly a year, because they became so sick. The family and the children became so sick that it took a year to remove what they considered a safe return to their homes. But I asked them, what was that sickness like? And this is the reporting. So all of you can comment under this, please do. But severe panic attacks as a result of the fungus, muscle ache, imbalance issues, constant fatigue, and depression to the extent of suicidal thoughts. Now, the children are being affected too. I have seen a number of children that seem to be permanently affected from the fungus. They're not right. They're not right. You can see that they have learning and they have obvious disabilities. I will say that. So what we're seeing now is this attack, and it's been foretold to us through The Last of Us, which you can watch on HBO, and it's on the CDC website. And I've just talked to you about how they're mitigating, forcibly requiring people to replace roofs. Roofs are very expensive to replace. And also how literally the pipes in our homes are one of the methods in which the synthetic fungus is traveling up into our houses. One of many ways besides being airborne. But it's coming up in our sinks. Now, people are noticing black surfacing up around the escutcheon in their sinks. And so people try to wash it off. It's very hard to wash with normal house cleaning abrasive aids when you wash your sink. But what they are now doing is they're putting a couple of tablespoons of bleach down their sink, not too much, and they wait a few hours. And Steve, the fungus is emerging thicker and darker all around the escutcheon in the sinks. And then when they see that emergence of more fungus creeping up their plumbing in their homes or offices, wherever, then they're putting a couple of tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide. And many of you know when you have a cut and you put hydrogen peroxide, you'll hear that fizzing sound. This is the loudest fizzing sound you can imagine. And immediately, Steve, the fungus retracts down the plumbing.
That's insane. Just
You don't
crazy.
need to wipe it. It retracts. And so this keeps happening. People can put the bleach in every other day or every day, and the fungus, again, it's synthetic. It's lab created. It's airborne. A dehumidifier may help because it's all moisture related. I know that many people are having lots of fungus on their toenails and fingernails.
I have seen that, Deborah, as well, and know people personally that have gotten it on their feet, like you said, around the toenails. I've seen it where fungus in the mouth is so horribly bad. It's just like nuts. You're right. It's like an epidemic, as well as even buildings and things that seem to be impervious to weather changes that went perfectly normal for years, just totally covered in fungus.
Well, you know what I found and have noticed too, and you may have known people that this has occurred to as well. But during this winter, when this really erupted in mass, we noticed in our cars that were parked outside that after the rainy season, the doors were opened up in these cars and they were covered with mildew. The headliners, the seats, the floor mats, the steering wheels, everything covered in mildew. So we know of people that bought these oh gosh, there's a name. It's a it's 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 something you purchase and it pulls the odors and fungus out of the room.
Are you talking about the ozone machine?
Yes, the ozone generators. You know that you can't buy those in California?
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Oh my
I know
gosh.
people that have had to order them out of state and then have them personally shipped into California. So they put in, thank you for the word ozone generator, because they put in these ozone generators into these automobiles that were filled with mildew, and it would not eradicate the mildew. And I know people have storage containers and storage units.
I went through that one, Deborah. I actually myself, I had a storage container that I bought that was in perfect shape. It got filled with black mold out of nowhere. Never had the problem before. Very well sealed. And I do have an ozone generator, and it would not kill the mold.
So everybody that's listening, we need your comments. We need people to research how we combat what they're telling us in an HBO series about a fungal pandemic, and they're entitling it "The Last of Us." The Last of Us.
And Deborah, that's the same thing that's the very title on the University of Chicago. Could a fungal pandemic be? And they put in quotation, "The Last of Us," and that's as crazy as you can possibly get. And
well, this is an alert broadcast. We need everybody on board to understand that this is another attack. It's unacknowledged thus far, with the exception of the movie that many people will just consider a movie, but it's turning people into zombies. So we're looking at all the methodologies. We also know that all of the increased electromagnetic frequency from all the wireless and all the increased cell towers and hidden sensors everywhere are increasing the growth of fungus. So this is being exacerbated by all methods of the silent weapons system to massively affect the human population and the animal population. I recently on your show, Steve, we talked about the document showing how they would depopulate all animals. They're doing this to animals too. So again, this is a broadcast, the first of its kind that I'm aware of, that we need to get out far and wide. We really, really appreciate your comments. Steve, when people comment to this, then I think we should read these comments and appreciate people's suggestions here, because this is a worldwide fungal pandemic that has been launched already.
One other one, Deborah, I'll share with you real quick before we end this one. John Hopkins has put out an article too, just last year in August, a critical pathogen, the rise of drug-resistant fungal diseases. And they say in here in just the first paragraph, until recently, most fungal infections did not pose a significant threat to human health. Our advanced immune system and hot body temperatures created an inhospitable environment for fungi, which mostly infected hospitalized patients or those taking immune suppressive medications. But now, staying over the past 10 years, the fungus Candida auris has emerged independently on 3 continents, suggesting that it may be the first fungus to have adapted to survive to hotter temperatures. And last year, scientists in Singapore, interesting, right, identified a new variant of this fungus, which the WHO has now labeled a critical pathogen.
Now, I think it's important to add at this point the lies of climate change and the exacerbating of heat, which is a new heat now. We are all experiencing microwave heat, and this is going to further degrade our immune systems as the fungus is allowed to grow because of the microwave heat and the weapons that are used to cause heat events. Look at all the fires, and look at what occurs prior to hitting any place on this world, on the planet, with increased frequencies that then exacerbate some type of a directed energy weapon attack by the use of fires and lasers, the increased electrification to create landslides, what they certainly are doing in the context of hurricanes and tornadoes and all of the storms, Hurricane Helene. All of this is massive increased frequencies in the atmosphere that are going to further exacerbate fungus and fungus in rebuilds. And look at all the water damage that's occurring everywhere. You turn on the news and you see cars floating down the street everywhere. Again, fungus, 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 being intentionally created in labs, aerosolized, and exacerbated by the fact that it's climate change, which of course they're telling us is our fault rather than weather weapons.
Yeah.
So I think I really appreciate the John Hopkins information that you brought up. And let's get this out far and wide. Let's get comments to this, because we face the unthinkable, as we are already facing the unthinkable. And this is all scripted in advance. So watch the movie, The Last of Us, on HBO, and understand this is real. This is a pandemic emerging. And I also remind you again about Operation Sea Spray, SCA spray, and the fact that the Navy sprayed fungus, which created urinary tract infections in the early 1950s over San Francisco. So I thank you for this broadcast, Steve. There are many that we should be having back to back because of the severity of the various attacks that are unacknowledged.
We will try to come back tomorrow, and we've got another one to catch up on, Deborah. So for those that are listening, go to www.stopthecrime.net and catch up on the latest that Debra puts up over on her website, as well as primarywater.org, and also Toxic Skies. Is that .net as well?
Sky, yeah, toxicsky.net. .org. Excuse me, toxicsky.org. I'm thinking of something else I need to add. We're seeing massive amounts of fungus, toxic fungus in our water supplies everywhere. And after the fires, for example, in January of 2025 in the Los Angeles area. There were toxic fungus that were causing animals to bite people, attack people, and then die. Seagulls, seals, all kinds of marine life were washing up on the beaches because they're taking out the oxygen supply. This is the biggest part of the fungal discussion, is the reduction of oxygen, because they're telling all of us the only way we can combat climate change is to reduce CO2. That's our oxygen. And they're destroying the plants everywhere that provide oxygen. So keep this in mind. They are reducing, the controllers that have the technology that and the capabilities of doing this, and they are. We have to understand there was a state of emergency some time back in Florida, again, with these toxic algae blooms, telling people to stay out of the water. It would cause neurological damage to your brain if you jumped in with this fungus. And again, it's killing the marine life. It's killing us slowly, and in some instances, depending on your immune system, more rapidly. But we have to unite in thinking about workarounds here, Steve, and the increase of the oxygen. We have to figure out, we're going to have to plan to increase our oxygen supply. So I know many people, despite the fact that we're being chemtrailed every day, which is dropping heavy metals and killing plants and trees and shrubs, but still, people do need to continue planting greenery around their homes, even though now in fire areas, they're telling us we have to eliminate a zone around our homes. And that's only because they're using frequencies, and the plant material interrupts the ability for the frequencies to be used on us from the towers and from other methods of deploying frequencies on our homes through our house lines. So this is an enormous picture that I'm painting, but I haven't even begun to discuss the enormity of it. This is the first moment that we are bringing this out to all of your attention. So Steve, thank you so much for this broadcast.
You're very welcome, and thank you, Debra. Again, Debra Tavares with StopTheCrime.net. And we will be talking to you guys soon. And this video will be available on both Debra's site as well as on YouTube on our playlist. Thank you again for listening.